What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ballbusters podcast. Welcome back to a part 2 of our 2024 rookie mock draft with the landing spots from the Tankathon mock draft. But with that being said, before we get into that, Eric, you got anything for the people?
Yeah, man, real quick before we get into it, as Will alluded to, this is part 2. This is round 2. So if you haven't already seen round 1 of our rookie mock draft, go check that video out first. Pause this one, check that one out, come back to it. That'd be great. Typical YouTube stuff, as always. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like on the video. That helps us out a ton. Sub to the channel so that we can get our numbers up. That would help us out a bunch as well. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all of our latest videos. And leave a comment down below as well. We would love the engagement. We'd love to talk to you guys. Let us know what you think about the Tankathon mock draft in terms of the NFL and where the landing spots are there. Let us know what you think about our mock draft and where these guys should be going in Dynasty, whether you agree, disagree. That would be fantastic. Tankathon mock draft will be linked in the description if you want to look at it. And then lastly, the format that we're following for this is going to be a 12-team league, super flex, half-point tight end premium, and then in terms of starting lineup, we're going to have 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 2 flex. So hopefully that's all the context that you need to fully understand the second round of this rookie mock draft. So let's get into it.
Hell yeah. And with that being said, I had the 101 in the last pick, so I'm going to be starting this one off as well. And with that first pick, I'm going Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU. In this draft, they have him going to New England at the 235. And I kind of like that landing spot because if you didn't watch our last video, which I assume you did because we just told you to, Drake May went to New England. So that means Brian Thomas Jr. also has Drake May as his quarterback, and he's stepping into a situation where he is the best receiver on this team. There's just no debate. He is the best receiver on this team. He should be the most featured player on this team going forward as well. And honestly, Brian Thomas Jr., he's been super impressive in college. He's been one of the most productive wide receivers in college, running alongside Malik Neighbors as well, and still able to find that level of production, which is extremely impressive to me. And I think that he has, a good tool set that translates well over to the NFL. And in New England, we talked about it a little bit. We don't quite know what New England's going to look like next year in terms of what the shakeup could be with if Bill Belichick were to leave. We don't even know if he's going to leave. He could be there still. But I do feel like things are going to change in New England. Something has to change. That culture over there just has to kind of update itself. I feel like they're kind of stuck in the past. And having Brian Thomas Jr. and Drake May leading the charge, I think would be a great way to send this team into the future. So I love Brian Thomas in that spot.
100% agree with you. I would have had him in the same spot here as well. Honestly, he's so underrated. It's crazy with how talented he is that he's not a first round pick in the NFL mocks or in our rookie mock. So that kind of just goes to show you the depth of the wide receiver class this year. But yeah, I think he definitely deserves to be this pick at the 13 spot, and very excited to see what he could do with Drake May. I'm also going to go with a wide receiver here at the 14th overall pick, second in the second round. I'm going to go to Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. He gets drafted by the Carolina Panthers with the first pick in the second round, 33rd overall. There's a little bit of concern here just with the state of the Panthers right now. And analytically, what we've seen from Bryce Young, it's not very encouraging. If you look at the tape, I think that there's definitely some flashes and some bright spots that you can hold on to. I think that Bryce is just surrounded by the worst supporting cast in football. And we'll see if it changes going forward now that some things have happened with the play calling situation. But the play calling has been putrid for him as well. He's just in a really tough situation. So I'm hoping in this case that Bryce Young has a big bounce back sophomore year, and Adonai Mitchell is clearly going to be the wide receiver 1 for that team as soon as he gets drafted here in the second round. So that's where I'm going to go with second pick in the second round.
Nah, I love that. It's like you said, he steps in, he is immediately just the best wide receiver on this team. I love that. For the next pick, I've got at the 115. It's a little tough because I feel like there's also been a teardrop after that as well. So in terms of the players, they get a little bit closer for me. Things get a little bit fuzzier. But the player that I'm picking right here, I'm going with Jonathan Brooks to Buffalo, to be honest with you.
Ooh.
Going Jonathan Brooks, because in this one they have him going to Buffalo. It's a third round pick, I believe. I believe they have him at the compensatory, $3.99. But I feel like Jonathan Brooks is kind of what Buffalo has been looking for in a running back, and I feel like he's going to be able to supply that. In terms of a goal line guy, someone who's a real thumper in between the tackles, I feel like he's someone that they've been looking for a while, that they tried to get in Damian Harris this year, and that did not go well for them at all. James Cook has proven that he can't really do that at an efficient level, at least. He can do it from time to time, but not efficiently week to week. But I feel like Jonathan Brooks in this offense, I don't feel like he's going to usurp James Cook. He's going to completely take him out of the offense, but I think that he will be able to supply that goal line role. He's going to be able to supply that between the tackles role. I think he's going to get some meaningful touches, and James Cook may be able to move more to more of a receiving role for the offense. I don't quite know exactly how that's going to shake out. I'm not an NFL coach, but at the end of the day, I do think Jonathan Brooks will find some value within this team on this high-powered offense with Josh Allen as well.
I like it. It's definitely
It's a bold.
spicy.
It's bold.
So full transparency, I didn't even have Jonathan Brooks in my second round. Maybe that's disrespectful to him. You were definitely higher on Jonathan Brooks, the prospect, than I was when we were going through like our running back rankings and stuff. I like Jonathan Brooks. I'm nervous about the Buffalo landing spot and what we've seen from Buffalo running backs over the last bunch of years since Josh Allen has been there, really, because he seems to be more the goal line back than anybody else. But maybe that changes if they have somebody that's better suited for the role. So I do like that there. This takes me to what, the 204, the 16th pick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am going to go with a running back, but I'm going to be going with Trey Benson out of Florida State. He gets drafted by the Ravens in the second round, the 64th overall pick. This is one where I guess some faith has to be put into the fact that like he's going to be the RB1, like J.K. Dobbins isn't going to be with the team, or he's going to be put into the back seat. Also, Keaton Mitchell is there, and he's been kind of emerging, so there's definitely some question marks around that situation as well. I don't think Keaton Mitchell is going anywhere. I think he's going to continue to be involved. But Baltimore's running game is definitely an attractive one for a running back to land in, and especially with Lamar there for the foreseeable future, that's going to continue to be the case. They're always going to be efficient, and they're always going to be a high-powered offense, so lots of scoring opportunities as well. And I think that Trey Benson probably is the second best running back in this class. And so you combine the talent level with this landing spot. And although there are question marks, I'd be happy to take him here in this position.
No, I do. I like that too. I think Trey Benson's a weird one for me because a lot of people, not even a lot of people, if Trevion Henderson were to not declare, there's a lot of people who would say that Trey Benson is the RB1 in this class, which, you know, it's tough because this running back class is weird for me. It's tough to really distinguish anybody after you get past Trevion Henderson. But I do like Trey Benson. I do like the landing spot. Like you said, Baltimore, they highly value the running back position. They highly value just running the ball. So I think, like you said, in terms of landing spots, it doesn't really get too much better than that one for Trey. So I like that spot for him too.
And also, one thing I wanted to mention, we should have mentioned it in the first video. Maybe I'll put in a little note. But we're not picking anybody that wasn't drafted in the Tankathon mock draft. Hint, hint, Braylon Allen wasn't taken anywhere because he's definitely a running back that deserves to be put in this conversation. But because he doesn't have a landing spot in Tankathon's mock draft, he won't be in our list.
Yeah, so don't be mad at us. Be mad at Tankathon. Thank you. But with that being said, moving on to the 117, I'm going back to the running backs as well. And I'm looking at Blake Corum to the Arizona Cardinals. This spot is a little bit interesting for me. James Conner, he hasn't been really efficient. He's been just kind of a volume guy back there for this offense. There's a potential out in his contract soon that they may explore just because he hasn't really been as inspiring back there. He's been a big part of this offense, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if they brought him back for another year. But even if they did, I feel like bringing in this new guy and showing the efficiency he's had in college and the productions he's had in college, he's going to be someone who comes in and starts for this team. They drafted him in this draft in the second round at the, make sure I'm doing it. No, third round, sorry, 382. 382. Yeah. But third round draft capital is still not bad, especially when James Conner is a starter there. I think he's definitely good enough to carve out a role in this offense, and I think he is for sure good enough to maybe even take over the role his rookie year as well from James Conner. So Blake Corum for this offense tied to Kyler Murray going for it as well. Yeah, I just kind of like that, to be honest with you. So I like Blake Corum in this spot.
No, I like that as well. And James Conner has definitely performed admirably, but it's only a matter of time before the wheels fall off there. So I think you're definitely right that he would become the starter sooner rather than later. Where are we at? Is
118.
this going to be 118? Okay.
Or
So
sorry, 118.
again, like I
Jesus.
alluded to, 218,
Yeah.
whatever, 18th overall. It doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
got it. It'll be on the screen. Okay. We're not looking at the same thing you guys are looking at. We'll make it easier for you guys to understand. But anyway, with my pick here, this is tight end premium, half-point tight end premium, and I'm going to take Jatavion Sanders, who goes to the Washington Commanders in the second round, 42nd overall pick. I think this is actually a pretty good landing spot. As a lifelong Commanders fan, I get nervous to draft anybody that goes to our team because we seem to just fuck everything up every time and ruin good prospects. But I think at the tight end position specifically, that's something that we target heavily. Logan Thomas has been a fantasy viable asset for a few years now, at least when he's been healthy. And I think Jatavion Sanders is a pretty high-end tight end prospect, very athletic, very productive so far at Texas. He's young. He's an early declare, so I think he's got a lot of room left to grow as well. And so I'd be very happy to get that, especially in a half-point tight end premium league here in the middle of the second round.
Yeah, and especially going to a team like Washington, who, I don't know what this coaching staff is going to look like next year, but if Eric Bieniemy is still a part of this coaching staff, the tight end position is going to be a highly valued position within this offense. So I do think that if Eric Bieniemy is still attached, Jatavion Sanders may actually be more effective earlier in his career than we'd even expect. But you know what I mean. But I do like him in that spot as well. I think it's a great landing spot for him too with Washington because they definitely need a tight end. And yeah, I like that spot for him. Moving to the 19th overall pick, I'm going over to New York. I'm looking at Xavier Leggett, someone who I feel like has been a pretty underrated wide receiver as well going through this process. But him going to New York, it's not the most inspiring thing in the world. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to say that Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in the world. But I do think this is at least an opportunity for Xavier Leggett to step in and clearly be the best wide receiver on this team, which means he should earn targets pretty early on. He should be effective in the NFL. But in terms of the landing spot, it's not the greatest, but I really don't feel like any of the wide receivers after this have great landing spots either. So it's kind of the spot we're in with these wide receivers going forward too. Actually, we do have one with a good landing spot, but we'll talk about that one, at some point.
Yeah, I like that pick. Like you said, there's some nervousness there with the quarterback situation, but the coaching staff, I like. Brian Dable, I think, can put his best players in good situations to succeed. I do think that he needs to develop a little bit more as a complete receiver and as a route runner. He can't run the full route tree right now. He's a deep ball guy and like a slant and like screen type guy. That's where he makes most of his money right now. So he needs to develop a little bit more. But at this point in the second round, with the upside that he has, that's absolutely warranted to go there. Who am I going to take next? I think I have to do it. Superflex draft. I'm going to go to Bo Nix here. He was drafted by the Rams in the second round at the 45th overall pick. We've seen a ton of mocks with him going in the first round. We've seen a ton of mocks with him going early in the second. So this is a little bit later than we've seen him go just based on the averages here. But I think the landing spot is a good one, especially if Sean McVay does stick around. If he fills in for Matthew Stafford, I trust that the coaching staff is going to put him in a great situation to succeed. And Puka obviously has proved himself to be fantastic, so he'll be there for the foreseeable future. Hopefully they build around him as well, and especially improve the offensive line. That's going to be the biggest thing. But even if they don't, that's one of Bo Nix's strong suits is that sack avoidance ability, and I think that's going to be really helpful to him at the next level. Super flex. I'm going to go with a guy that has shown to be quite productive so far at the college level the past 2 years, and with a good landing spot here in LA.
Yeah, I love that, honestly. I think, like you said, I think the Matthew Stafford days are starting to come to an end in LA. And with that being said, it is time for the future. And Bo Nix is a good quarterback for it. He's got a good rushing floor as well. So in terms of, production and fantasy, he should be up there with, not the best of them, but at least he should be up there with with some productive ones at least. He should be productive. And then Bo Nix, like you said, tied to Puka, tied to Cooper Kupp for at least, however long Cooper Kupp is with the team too and still productive. But yeah, I like Bo Nix in this spot a good bit. I had him a little bit higher, I believe, just a little bit. I don't know. This stuff is shaking out weird now that we're, doing all this together, but yeah. I like Bo Nix here. And then moving on to the next pick we got, I didn't quite know where to go here because, like I said, the stuff gets a lot muddier. but I'm going with Xavier Worthy just because he's tied to the better team, and he's going to Philadelphia in this draft right here. Tankathon has him going to Philadelphia at the 243, which is great draft capital for a wide receiver, second round pick. As a prospect, I'm not huge on Xavier Worthy. I feel like he doesn't have a whole lot of diversity, but I feel like he is really good at what he is really good at. So I'm not going to take anything away from him in terms of like saying he's just a speed merchant, because at the end of the day, if he's elite with that, it doesn't matter if he is, because he's good with it. We've seen guys get by on speed. But with that being said, him landing with Philadelphia, it's not the most attractive thing in the world because honestly, it's a lot of mouths to feed over there. You got Devonta Smith, you got A.J. Brown, you got Dallas Goedert. So it's tough to get him the ball, but at the same time, he does provide something that those other two don't, which is just spacing out the field and just spreading things out. He's like having a Kez Watkins for this team, but just better, in my opinion. So they just upgraded Kez Watkins here, and that's still good for me, honestly. That still opens up the field a good bit. So I like Xavier Worthy in this spot.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be more beneficial for the Eagles than he will be for your fantasy teams if this ends up being the spot that he lands in. Um, but at a certain point, you do have to trust the talent. And even though I think both of us are probably a little bit lower than consensus on Xavier Worthy, I think being able to get Xavier Worthy at the back end of the second round in a rookie mock draft is crazy. So I'm absolutely going to take the talent there, even if the situation isn't exactly what we hoped. So I like that pick a lot. I'm going to go with another guy where it's kind of talent over situation, similar type deal here with Troy Franklin. He goes to Atlanta at the 46th overall pick in the second round. He's a guy that I like slightly more than Worthy just overall as a prospect, but again, offensive environment there isn't going to be great. In this mock draft, Atlanta's not taking a quarterback, so we still don't have answers to whether they're going to improve in that area. And they've been winning games, so like if they manage to get to the top of the NFC South, we don't know if the coaching staff is going to change either. That's something that we were kind of banking on, that Arthur Smith was going to be gone. The offense would open up a little bit, but we don't know if that's going to be the case either. So this is really just a bet on talent. I like Troy Franklin a lot. He's proven to be an electric playmaker there in Oregon, and I just hope that talent can shine through. But we've kind of seen with Drake London and Kyle Pitts that it can't. Just hope that the situation improves sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. The landing spot is not great. You guys, if you've been watching the channel, you already know I don't like Arthur Smith like at all. But at the same time, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. But it's tough to say. But like you said, you hope the talent shines through. He'll be running alongside two other great receivers in Kyle Pitts and Drake London. So it's a lot of diversity there with the team, and he should be able to fill out a role that those two both don't fill. But I don't know what the hell that team is doing over there sometimes too. So it's tough. But like you said, I love the talent of Troy Franklin, so I'm going to bet on the talent, but the situation's crazy. But with that being said, we're going to move on to the next pick, and I'm going to go with Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers in this draft is actually he's declaring, and he goes to Seattle in the third round, 375.
Third.
Sorry. Yep, he's in the third. But Quinn Ewers, I was taking a look at Geno Smith's contract, and there is a potential out in 2024. So, there's a possibility they could move on from Geno Smith after this year. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's probable. It is a possibility, though. But even still, having Quinn Ewers there, having him sit behind Geno for a year, just learning a little bit even, and then coming back out, I think that could be a great situation for him. Obviously, he'd be tied to DK Metcalf for a while. Tyler Lockett's aging out a little bit. He is starting to show his age a little bit, I feel like, this year. So I don't know how they're going to move forward with Tyler Lockett. But at least with DK Metcalf and JSN, he is tied to two good receivers over there at the very least. And with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker out the backfield as well, I just think it's a solid unit to have around a young quarterback, especially one with Quinn Ewers' talent. Because beginning of this season, we were like, we got to see more from Quinn Ewers. And these last few weeks, he has turned it on. These last few performances he's had, he's really turned it on. So, one, I want to see how he performs in the college football playoffs going forward. But Quinn Ewers, he's somebody to get excited about at the NFL level, especially if he were to land in Seattle at this spot.
No, I love that pick, and I would have done the same thing here as well. I think you could even make an argument that maybe he belongs a little bit higher. It's tough to bet on a quarterback with this late of draft capital. But yeah, the situation, if he were to get the starting job, would be fantastic for him there in Seattle. All right, so that leaves me with the last pick here to round things out of the second round. There's definitely some names that I feel bad leaving off the list, some interesting landing spots, some talented players. And I might mention them anyway since we're not going to go into a round three. But the guy that I am going to take is going to be Lad McConkey here.
Hmm.
He goes to Pittsburgh, second round, 55th overall. Obviously, this is hypothetical. Like, this isn't the real situation, but it's hard not to trust a Pittsburgh wide receiver. They seem to draft great receivers every single year, year in and year out. And I don't think that Lad McConkey is going to be any different. He's a fantastic separator, fantastic route runner, somebody that we've talked about plenty on this channel as well. Um, and I think that Deontay is probably going to be on his way out pretty soon too. So I think he can fill in that similar kind of slot role that Deontay has for this team. So I think he can be very fantasy valuable. Do you want to talk about any honorable mentions before we head out of here?
Honorable mention I wanted to talk about for sure. Somebody that we actually noticed got updated on Tankathon this morning with a different landing spot. It's Tez Walker to the Detroit Lions. I kind of like
Yes.
that one a lot.
Yes.
I feel like they don't have a wide receiver two over there. They've kind of been looking for it this whole season, even trading for Donovan Peoples-Jones, hoping he could do it, and he hasn't. But Tez Walker, I feel like could step in and do that for them, and just him running alongside Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that could be a dangerous combination for that team. So I do like Tez Walker a lot with this landing spot. I was surprised to see it, and I was happy to see it. So I love him there. Is anybody you had on here as well?
There's a couple guys that I could talk about, but Tez Walker was the one that I wanted to cover, so I'm very glad that you brought him up. I love Tez Walker. I think he's been underrated in the draft process so far, and this landing spot would be so perfect in my opinion. He fills a role that nobody on that team fills right now, and so yeah, I think that that could be great. Him going to a high-powered offense. Is there anybody worth talking about? Like Jalen Polk got drafted in the second round, but he went to Cleveland. Don't love the situation. I think we both like Malachi Corley a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Green Bay. That's a confusing one because there's a lot of young receivers there. I
A
like Jaden
lot,
Reed a lot.
like all of them.
Um, Dontavian Wicks has been fantastic. Romeo
Christian Watson,
Dobbs,
when
Christian
healthy, is
Watson, if he
good.
can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know where he would fit in. And also, Jordan Love went from beginning of the season skyrocketing, then falling off the face of the earth, then skyrocketing, and then back again after losing to the Giants. So I don't know what to think of Jordan Love necessarily. But I do like his talent a lot, so it's cool to see him go in the third ahead of some guys that so far in the process have probably been ranked a little bit higher. But that's probably all I got.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of excitement, I think those are the guys right there I'm most excited about with landing spots too that just landed right outside of our draft. But with that being said, if you guys made it this far, thank you. Make sure you guys do all that great YouTube stuff because that's going to round out our mock draft right there. Do all that great YouTube stuff. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. That way you know when we drop all of our new videos. Hit that like button as well. It's absolutely free, and it's the best way to get our stuff out there into the YouTube stratosphere. And make sure you hit up the comments if you disagree or agree with any of our picks. Now that this is complete and you guys can see the full 2 rounds, let us know what you think about the whole draft or even just this side of it. If there's anybody you think we're a little bit too high on, I'm sure we're going to catch a little bit of heat in the comments, me specifically. But with that being said, Eric, you got anything else
We're
for the
both
people?
catching heat. No, there's gonna be haters, and that's okay. We're used to that. That's how it is. But yeah, anything else? Check the links in the description below. Link specifically to the Tankathon mock draft if you're interested in checking out the rest of the landing spots for everybody that was involved in that one. It's a 3-round mock draft over there. Check out the link to our Discord. We have an amazing community over there that we're talking to every single day. We're talking dynasty startups. We're talking trade targets. We're talking, regular redrafts and even just some regular life stuff. We've been talking about what people do for work. We got some people in there that are working in the football space, which is really cool. So hop in there, talk to us, have a good time. That would be fantastic. And then lastly, if you could check our sponsor, Do Numbers. I'm wearing a hoodie right now. If you're interested in some cool apparel, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, any sort of merch that you're looking for, you can get 15% off using our promo code in the description below. But I think that's all I got. So if you've stuck with us all the way until the end, as always, we love you, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.